In this video, we're going to look at one of the strangest cultural habits in Papua New Guinea, the Asaro Mudmen. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a historian and an archaeologist, and this series is all about weird and strange facts from around the world. So let's get into it. The Asaro Mudmen are a group of people who live in the highlands region of Papua New Guinea. They gained notoriety some decades ago when anthropologists discovered that during the war between the Japanese and the Australians, some of the Japanese soldiers who had been killed in battle were brought back to life by these indigenous people. Of course, this isn't literally true. They didn't raise the dead. What happened was that the Asaro people took the skulls of the dead Japanese soldiers, and then they performed rituals on those skulls, and they incorporated those skulls into their own culture. And so, in a way, they did bring those Japanese soldiers back to life, because now they were part of their culture. They even believe that those skulls can help protect them from other enemies, like poisonous snakes or malaria. But how did this all start? How did these Papua New Guinea people come to have Japanese skulls as part of their culture? Well, let's go back in time to World War II. During the Japanese occupation of Papua New Guinea, many Japanese soldiers died in battle, and many of them were killed by Australian forces. But sometimes the Australian soldiers wouldn't actually shoot the Japanese soldiers. Instead, they would capture them and they would imprison them in what was called a prisoner of war camp. However, after a while, the Australian government realized they just couldn't take care of all these prisoners of war. It was too much for them to handle. So they sent most of them to work farms in places like Queensland, Australia. And they also built another prison camp in Papua New Guinea, where they would send the prisoners of war there instead of keeping them in the city. Now, it wasn't great for these Japanese soldiers to be working on these farms. They were treated quite badly and many of them escaped. However, when they did escape, they didn't have anywhere to go. They were in enemy territory. So many of them died in the highlands region of Papua New Guinea, where they were killed by either the Australian soldiers chasing after them, or they were killed by the indigenous people who lived in that area. Now, after the war ended, many of the skulls of these Japanese soldiers were taken by the local indigenous people who lived in the highlands. These people were known as the Asaro Mudmen, and they took the skulls and they kept them in their villages. Every year, they would take out the skulls and they would perform rituals with them. They would put the skulls in the ground and then they would dance and sing over them. And they believed that this would bring the Japanese soldiers back to life and that they would protect them from any harm. This continued until 1963, when the anthropologist Michael Warner first discovered these Asaro Mudmen and their strange custom of raising the dead Japanese soldiers. After this, many of the missionaries and the local government officials tried to stop this practice because it was seen as being kind of weird and strange. And obviously, they weren't bringing the dead back to life, but the Asaro Mudmen continued to do it in secret. And today, it's still continued in secret. The Asaro Mudmen will never tell outsiders where they buried these skulls, They will never reveal any of the secrets behind their rituals, and they continue to perform these rituals every single year, even though it's in secret and even though the Papua New Guinea government has asked them to stop. So why don't they ever tell anyone where they buried the skulls? Why don't they reveal their secrets? Well, it's because these skulls aren't just seen as possessions or trophies, they're seen as relatives. And if the Asaro Mudmen reveal the location of the buried skulls, then evil spirits could escape and harm everyone. And so this is why the tradition continues even to this very day. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.